welcome back to Beholder to No One, a TTRPG podcast today. We are going to be playing Magic School Mysteries with the creator Tanner.
Hi, folks.
And Greg is here, as well as Owen from Plus One Productions.
Hey, how's it going?
Hello, y'all.
And this is the first time that we are playing through this game and hopefully completing our first year as Wizarding School students.
Yes, I hope you're excited to play 11 to 13-year-olds and get into a lot of mischief, cast spells, and, learn, go to wizard school.
I've never been more excited.
Super exciting.
All right, so I will let you have the floor, Tanner.
All right. Well, let's go ahead and get started. We are going to just start off the bat by just taking a look at the mystery sheet I put into the chat. If you could just go ahead and pull it up, I'm going to kind of explain what that is and why it's important. We're going to be playing most of the game around this sheet. And I'm very excited, especially because this is a new way of looking at mystery solving that we're trying out for this playtest. So you should see that you have multiple boxes, each with their own questions. And these are leading questions. It might say something like, what's behind the statue of the Rune Wolf in the Crescent Tower? And it has a space for an answer. The way this works is every time you, the students, roll the dice, if you roll high, you get to answer one of these questions. You get to take control over the narrative and say what your character does, and if they're successful at their action, and then how they discovered something that led to the answer you're writing down. Now, it's okay if it comes to your turn to do it and you're not really sure what to write down. You can always bring the rest of the table in to collaborate with you. Now, if you roll low on the dice, that means I the headmaster, get to answer one of the questions. So what I'm going to do, if you roll low, I'm going to choose a question and just put an X on it. What that means is you can't answer that question. It is too mysterious. There are no clues that don't lead to dead ends. And later on, during the gameplay, I can choose to answer a question I have marked with an X at any time. And so we're basically taking turns gaining control of the narrative and figuring out what the mystery is. Now you'll notice how some of these questions are in a box and there's a little line that connects to other questions. That means you have to answer the first question before you can answer the next one. Does that make sense? Do you know what I'm talking about when I talk about the line?
Yeah.
There's a prerequisite. It's
kind of like a flow chart.
Exactly. Now, not all of these questions have those lines. Some just float by themselves, and that means you can answer them at any time. However, you will also notice that there are different tiers of questions, these big giant block texts that, you start with the first, second, third, that hold multiple questions. And some of these tiers have numbers next to them. What that means is in order to answer a question at a tier below your current tier, you have to answer a number of questions have to be answered equal to the giant number to the left on the bottom corner. And that could be answers that you, the students, have put down, or me, the headmaster, have put down. And so what this is, it's kind of a progression of a mystery. And as we get further down, the questions are going to be, more like, who did it, or why is the school in imminent peril, or what's the master plan? We have to start with general basic questions. So far, does that make sense?
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. It's kind of like a mini game board.
Exactly. Now, starting off as the headmaster, my job right before character creation is to just fill out the information about these two initial suspects. We have two suspects. One's the strange professor, and one's the stuck-up rival. I'm going to go ahead and start with their name. I also want to bring you guys on it too, so we have some fun with it. So I'm thinking of a name for a strange professor. So I'm going to say probably Professor Bain. And now let's see, Greg, what class does Professor Bain teach?
If I was to make a joke, I'd say human anatomy, breaking backs and whatnot.
All right, human anatomy. It must be magical though, right? So we're going to do a magical
There you go.
Human.
That's right. No, I'm sorry. It has to be magical.
Cryptid anatomy.
Don't worry, I
Ah.
misspelled anatomy. All right, let's see. Nikki, what quirk defines Professor Bain? Like, does he have a bald spot that all the students whisper about, or,
He has a really bushy mustache.
here, really bushy.
Can you actually underline that like 4 or 5 times and maybe put it in italics?
It's like walrus bushy. It's ridiculous. Maybe it was a spell gone wrong.
And then we're going to go up to the stuck-up rival. That's the next suspect. And by the way, these suspects, one of them is going to be the one who did it, but we don't know. I don't know.
Mhm.
Let's see. So the stuck-up rival, I'm going to call them Julia Spellman and Owen. Who are their sidekicks? Like, kind of like the thugs or like the mean girls that hang out with her. Whatever you want to do.
So she has 3 friends. 2 of them are named Erica, spelled differently, and the third one is Laura.
Erica with the C, Erica with the K.
That's right. That's right.
Erica, what? Not you.
Oh my gosh. And then, let's see, we're going to go back to you, Greg. Why is their family well known? Why are the Spellmans well known? What are they famous for?
Let's see. I suppose they are famous for. I guess they made a vast donation to the school, and they're kind of just famous for being rich people.
Wizardly Kardashians.
There you go.
Do you know who my father is? He's the reason why we have mythical beast transformation classes.
And you're going to learn that I actually cannot spell anything watching me do
It's
this.
all good.
That is completely and totally fine. Spelling is an overrated
It
skill.
actually makes me happy that you spelled Kardashians wrong.
That's why I'm hiring an editor for this game. All
There
right.
you go.
So we just had the basics out there. And as you can see, there's another suspect further down, the secret monster. And we're going to figure out what that is later on. And maybe you'll answer that, maybe I'll answer that. But for now, we're good to go. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to tell you what your first glimpse of Magic School Castle looks like. And then we're going to work together to flesh out this castle a bit. So I'm going to say that the first time you see this castle, it's on this hill in the middle of this, this like ravine, this huge canyon with steep edges on every side, and it's like this rock outcropping that sticks out of this canyon. And you can see the huge bell tower in the center, and you can hear the peal of the bell welcoming you to your new home. And coming out from this bell tower, it's ringed by multiple other towers, and these bridges connect everything. And that seems to be the way the castle works. There's huge towers connected by bridges, and some of them loom ominously over this endless chasm. And so we're going to go to the castle sheet, which you see in front of you. And I have a castle survey, and I'm going to start asking you guys questions about the castle. So let's see, we're going to start. We just did Greg, I think. So Nikki, could you go ahead and warn us about a dangerous location the students are forbidden to go?
The attic.
Why is it dangerous?
It's probably haunted. It's probably haunted by some not so happy ghost.
Is there only one attic in this whole castle, or is it that specific attic?
The attic is a trick attic, and there's like secret doors, but it's all technically one attic.
Oh,
Nice.
It's a
network
maze.
of
It's an attic maze.
maze attic, haunted maze attic. Excellent. The more dangerous we can make the more dangerous and OSHA non-compliant we can make the school, the better. All right. So the next question from our survey sheet. Let's see here. Owen, can you mention to us a mysterious location the students go to when they want to be alone?
The haunted maze attic.
Actually, yes. If you go right through the infirmary to the far end, there's a little hidden nook around that leads to the secret garden. The problem is they don't generally let you in the infirmary, so...
But everybody loves that secret garden. It smells so good.
And it is so pretty.
Wait, so how secret is it? Is it actually like only a few students know, like you students, or is it kind of like everyone knows the secret garden?
There's a couple of students who know. Mostly it's from folk who have accidentally stumbled across it.
Students know. Excellent. I like that. All right. And then we're going to go back up to you, Greg. Can you talk to us about a cozy location where the students always study?
I mean, the obvious place would be like a library. The castle has quite a few different libraries of varying sizes, each with their own kind of, I guess, genre of books held within. Aside from that, there is also the dormitories.
Mm-hmm.
I like the idea that there's libraries all over the place. Like maybe each tower has a library and there's a different genre. Maybe the towers are even named after the genre. Like you have like the Transfiguration Tower.
Ooh, I like that.
And maybe the dormitories even like are themed off the library. So if you are sent to the Transfiguration dormitory, there's kind of like a situation like that.
Yeah, sounds good.
You might even say a house.
There you go. Yeah.
All right, now it's going to be my turn. I get to say things about the castle too. So I'm going to describe to you, actually, I'm going to complain to you about a disgusting location where students hate visiting. And that is going to be, it's the place where they keep all the bats. So bats in this school are trained to deliver messages everywhere. And it's actually the center bell tower where they keep all the bats. And you kind of have to cross through it if you want to get anywhere fast because it's the central nexus of the school. But there's bats everywhere and there's bat droppings and it's just, I mean, some of the older wizards love it because it's all like gross, but
they've clearly gone batty.
I know where detention sends people now. Go clean up the bat guano.
Exactly.
Meanwhile, the Tower of Alchemy is like, hey, can we change? We'd really like to be there.
Exactly. All right, and now we could go on if we wanted, but for the sake of our time, we're going to move on to talking about the magical elements of the school. So let's see. Nikki's next.
Okay.
And so go ahead and describe to us the magical element that leaves the students in awe their first year at school.
Oh, of course, I get the hard one.
And don't worry, you can always open up to the table and ask other people to chime in about it.
Everything leaves them in awe, so I don't know. I'm torn. I need help from the party.
Something that leaves them in awe. So, at the beginning of every day, the dawn sun rises, and on top of that, from the distance, you can see what look like birds, but they're not. They're made of mist. They're made of magic.
Did you say birds, right?
They look like birds.
So magic mist dawn birds?
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
That's cool.
Okay.
It's just a phenomenon that's kind of around the school. Now, has this phenomenon
It's the only way to get kids up that early.
has this phenomenon been explored, or is it still a mystery?
As far as its exploration goes, due to where the sun rises, it's just over the ravine. It's not necessarily the safest place to go, so it hasn't been investigated by students per se. No.
Or at least not the younger students. The older students leave it as a mystery for the younger students to eventually learn on their own.
Could be a rite of passage.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, there you go. Yeah.
Yeah.
Someone answered for Nikki. Nikki, would you like to take a crack at another one?
Sure.
All right, let's see. Can you complain to us about a magical element that makes the students late for class?
Oh, I love to complain. There are some centaur hall monitors who always need to make sure you have a pass, and sometimes they forget that the bell just rang for us to go to class, and they're like, wait, where's your hall pass? And you have to get past them.
I like it.
Nice.
Good job. And then, let's see, who hasn't answered a question yet? Greg. All right. Could you warn us about a magical element that is not what the students think it is?
Ooh, okay. A magical element that the students don't know what it actually is?
Yeah, maybe they have an idea. Maybe they think it's something else, but it's actually something more ominous and even threatening than they think it is.
Sadly, I'm going to have to open up to the floor for that one. I don't have anything offhand.
So this school, before it became a school, it was a mine for a thing called living iron. Ages and ages ago, they took this out of the earth and they used it in part of the production of the school. The problem is living iron
Ooh.
is living.
Jesus, man. Let me
and it
remind me to
remembers.
friend you on here so we can do some improv together. Because wow, that's
That's
incredible.
great. Yeah, I can tell you DM a lot. I love that.
I didn't know what you're talking about. This is my first time playing a game.
The Living Iron remembers. All right, and then it's going to be my turn. Let's see. I'm going to talk about a magical element that will still astound the students even after they graduate. And I'm going to say that is okay. It's so in the towers there's stained glass windows, and when the dawn breaks and you can see the magic mist birds, sometimes it creates shadows of the birds, like being projected onto the floors of the towers. And these shadows aren't usually just shadows, but sometimes they take on a life of their own, just like the mist birds. And they tend to attach to students. And it's kind of a rare occurrence, but some of the faculty even view it as a form of familiar. So for the students who this has happened to, the fact that this happened to them is still astounding, even after they graduated and they're they're professional wizards. Shadows.
Nice. Okay.
Mist birds become familiar. All right. For this put this right now, that's what we're gonna have for our castle ideas. Now, of course, the next most important thing is naming the castle. Now, I know naming a castle can be pretty difficult, so I'm gonna start us off. I'm gonna call it the Alchemist School of, and feel free to chime in.
The castle itself is called the 14 Spires. The central school is just known as the Spire or the Bell Spire. And each of the individual towers, each of the individual libraries, they have their own name, like the Alchemist Tower, the Evoker's Tower, the Illusionist
But nobody
Tower.
remembers any of them, except for the teachers.
The teachers do. The problem is the towers change.
That's very cool.
You go into one and, oh, I was here for conjuration class yesterday, and why is everything on fire?
I like it. So actually, because you have each tower is a school, maybe we just call it the 14 schools. So it's like,
There
are
you
you
go.
going to attend 14 schools?
Oh, how about the school name is just the campus,
Campus? All right.
or something along that lines. Thesaurus time.
All right. Well, actually, we're going to get to move on. And so I want you guys to talk to me about before you were accepted to the campus. How did you know you were magical? Like, growing up, what happened that let you know that you were different, you were special? And let's go ahead and start with Greg.
And this isn't something that my parents told me
Oh, it could
that
be.
I was special.
That's up to you. You could come from a long line of magical family you already know what's going on. You could be, non-magic born. It's up to you. But however
Okay.
you kind of like first when you really emotionally realized that you're different than other people.
Okay. Basically, every year for summer, my parents would send me off to a camp of sorts. I wasn't really making friends too much. I don't like putting myself out for people. So I was always the weird kind of keep to himself kind of kid. And being that way, obviously, you make not really so many friends, but enemies, just because you're the weird kid and, people like messing with the weird kid. So basically, the time that I knew that I was different was I was being bullied during one of those summer camp outings. We were all around the lake, and I didn't know how to swim. My parents never taught me, nor did they hire anybody to do so. And I was shoved into the lake and was obviously freaking out because, I can't swim, so obviously my life is in danger. But I managed to cast something, I guess you could say, just out of desperation, to where I could, I basically gave myself gills and was able to survive not drowning through that.
Very cool. How do you feel about water now?
I'm not a fan. It's obviously great that I can do that to sort of evade that kind of stuff happening again, but still not a fan of water.
Very cool.
That was a real life story about me, by the way. That's not my character.
Oh, really? Well, there you go.
I don't like water.
He really doesn't.
There's some real life inspiration in there.
A little bit.
All right. How about you, Nikki?
Amethyst, which is her name, she grew up not really knowing anything about magic. She liked to play fantasy and liked to play that she was a princess and that she was a wizard. And then one day she saw somebody that looked so cool because they had pink hair. And she's like, Mom, I want pink hair. And of course, her parents said no, of course. So then the next day she woke up and she had pink hair. And she got grounded for dyeing her hair, but she's like, I didn't do anything. And then it changed to, she's like, I just wanted pink hair. And it became pink, and her parents didn't believe her. And the next day it was purple, and the next day it was green. And she learned that she could change her hair color. So she just kept doing it to prove a point at that point.
Oh, that's cool. I like that. Now, so what's your, does it keep changing now?
She changes it at will.
Right, sure. Very cool idea. So you could probably even go mention that in the description of Amethyst is like color changing hair. We're going to move on to Owen. How do you know you're magical?
Ian was young when he first discovered that he was a little more than just what met the eye. When he was in first or second grade, he was doing what young ones will do and playing on the swings with the friends that he had just met. The problem is young Ian has a bit of a stutter. One of the older students decided to come and make fun of young Ian's speech impediment, and he was always taught to talk his way out of fights, but he got so frustrated and flustered that he couldn't get past the break in his words, and when he became frustrated, a surge of energy came by. A glow, reddish orange, just burst from him. No one was hurt. Everything was fixed. The rust was removed from the swings. The clothes the children were wearing were cleaned. The other child himself was almost completely different from the dirty bully that he was. Just that surge of energy caused the bully to flee, and young Ian himself realized he was a little bit different than others.
Wow, that's...
I have to interrupt, and I have to say I love that prestidigitation was what was cast right there.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking too.
It was just like an extreme prestidigitation. Everything's dirty. No.
Also that role play there, that's cool. So does Ian still work with the stutter?
Ian still has a stutter, however, it only pronounces itself when he is under stress.
There you go. Now, because he kind of just fixed things, does he have a particular inclination towards mending magics?
Ian himself does not. The spell that he cast, he has affectionately named Whoops, and he has very little control over the effect of it. What happens in the area that is affected by the aura, small cuts and bruises will heal over, things will get cleaned, dishes will get done, doors will be unlocked, windows will be put open, homework will be done. Now, that's not to be said that it's done right. One time, young Ian tried to use the spell on a test that he had, and he answered every single question with potato.
And he's still got a 55 on it somehow.
Oddly enough, you're right.
What a strange and versatile spell. I love it. All right. So you have to remember that when I get to spellcasting and learning our first spells.
Mm-hmm.
So because we kind of talked about what our characters are just a little bit, you're going to notice on your character sheet, your student sheets, that you have something called stories. It's a space. There's two spaces. And if you turn to page 6 in our demo rulebook, you're going to find a list of stories. Now, stories are motifs. They're narrative patterns that will continually define your experience this year at wizard school. Stories may not necessarily ever be like something that needs fixing or even has resolution. It is just something that your character always deals with this year. And in going forward, in previous years, you can change stories around and based on how the roleplay goes. But do you all see this list on page 6?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead and choose 2 of those.
Are we saying them out loud, or are we keeping them to ourselves?
Yeah, go ahead and say them out loud, please.
All right. Well, the first and foremost is I'm speaking to animals. The reason is because they don't have a problem when I stutter. They're just surprised that a human is spending the time to have a chat with them. Because of that, I'm neglecting my studies and I am failing out of school.
There you go. You're hanging out with the wrong crowd.
Yeah, those are some bad news badgers, I say.
All right. Does anyone else have some thoughts about the stories they're choosing?
Amethyst is going to go with her rival is challenging her. Now, I did have a question. Is Julia an adult or a child like us?
Oh, that's a good point. I think she should be a child like you, maybe just a year ahead of you.
Fantastic. Julia is Amethyst's rival, and Amethyst is going in this like she is kick butt, and she's just like the coolest person because she could change her hair color and everybody else's hair is normal. So she is super ready to make mischief and to take on the current bully, which happens to be Julia.
All right, you have a rival, it's Julia, and you're making lots of mischief. You're always up to something. Very cool. How about you, Greg? Do you have any thoughts?
Absolutely. I am acing all of my classes, being the quiet, weird kid type. I'm very enveloped in studies usually. And then because of that, students are bullying me to go along with my original backstory there. I'm always the teacher's pet, and some people just don't seem to like that.
I will emphasize that Amethyst does not bully you because you're helping her pass one of her classes.
There you go.
All right, there you go.
It's good to have friends.
Yeah, friendship does pay off. And so let's see. So we have our stories, and you'll find that stories are going to be affecting you mechanically in different ways and narratively in different ways as we go forward. But let's just jump into the story and the narrative bit right now. So you've arrived at the campus. A magical bridge floats over to you, almost like a rotating bridge towards the canyon edge, so you can cross over. And you're shepherded by these mysterious professors who seem to be a bit rather strict and tight-lipped. And you find yourself shepherded into the campus. Of course, you are told to wait for just a moment as the school makes preparations to welcome you. And during that time, they would also say, by the way, new students, while we go prepare for your welcome, the head of second year, Julia Spellman, will keep an eye over you and give you a quick introduction to the history and rules of the campus. And they're going to introduce, of course, our rival, Julius Spellman, who is notably tall and who has these enchanted glasses that seem to flash between the color green and the color purple depending on who she's looking at. And you kind of get the sense as she scans the crowd and looks at each one of you that it's classifying different types of people in different ways for her own benefit.
Amethyst is immediately going to nudge whoever's closest to her, so I'm hoping is Ian, or I don't know what Greg's character's name is.
Oh, sorry. My character's name is Connor.
Connor. So one of the two of them is hopefully the closest person you'd like, I'm going to steal those glasses.
Ian looks over and just kind of smirks and says, I will give you $1 if you do.
Hell yeah, $1 is great.
Pull out a loonie and just put it down on the table and slide it over that way.
Of course, while this is happening, Greg, you've been jostled and bumped around a bit by some rough boys by your age. And Julia kind of looks over them and makes a disapproving sound. She says, we don't treat our classmates like that. You see, here's the deal. And she's going to walk towards you, Greg, and Amethyst. You're right next to Greg, too, I would assume. And she's going to walk right up to Greg and say,
Ian casually will slip away from the other
Are
two.
you okay? What's your name, sweetie?
My name's Connor. I suppose I'm okay currently.
Connor. All right, let me tell you one thing, Connor. Here at the campus, we don't let people push us around. And if I ever catch you letting yourself be bullied again, I'm going to bully the heck out of you. You understand? and she's kind of going to flick your book out of your hand.
Ian will immediately cough and point out the irony of that.
Can I try
He'll
to
be like,
steal her glasses now?
Oh yeah, of course you can. Now, so
While she's distracted by bullying the person who is being bullied.
now here's a great time to talk about a bit of the dice mechanic. So I'm only going to ask you to roll the die when you take an action that meets a specific set of circumstances. I have a little list here of important actions, and if you don't meet the list, I'm not going to ask you to roll the die. You just get to do it because it's not important. It's not important for the narrative. But you're about to steal from Julius Spellman, head of second year, and that puts you in social peril, which is a good time, which means you have to roll the dice. So you can take your D10,
Mm-hmm.
go ahead and give it a roll. Now, you're looking to get 7 or higher. What'd you get?
I got a 9.
Excellent. So you know what that means? That means right now you have narrative control. You get to tell me what happens in this with your action, to your character, just in general. What's the immediate effects?
So, using magic, I'm going to take the glasses off her face. And then I'm going to put them on my own face because I want to see what they do. And be like, your logic is so astounding. You are just the coolest person ever.
And how does she respond to you?
Probably really mad that I just stole her glasses.
Yeah, I think so. And she's going to actually kind of be like, I do you know who my father is? And she's going to start like a tirade.
Ian immediately interjects and goes, "Do you know who your father is?"
That's a tough one. You don't know? Oh, I'm so sorry. And I'm like pushing Connor towards us to get him away from her.
As this is happening, you're looking through the glasses, right? And you can see whenever you look at someone, it's either going to flash green or purple. If it flashes purple, there's a little line of text in magical scrolling, like fairy writing, that says "cool," and if it flashes green, it's going to say "lame."
Oh man, I can't imagine what color it is when they look at me.
I look at her and hope it says lame.
Well, I think you're controlling the narrative right now, so it does say "lame."
Sweet. It's like, oh, I think your glasses are working perfectly. You can have them back because when I looked at you, it said you were lame, and then I hand them back to her.
I'm going to get you for this. You're going to regret this. And that's when Professor Bain enters the room and clears his throat. Now, as you all know, Professor Bain is one of our suspects. He is a burly man with this huge walrus-like bushy mustache, and he teaches magical anatomy. He's actually very well fit. He kind of lifts probably, and he's going to clear his throat and try to settle the kerfluffle that has just happened. Now, here's the deal: because you rolled well, I'm going to pull up the mystery sheet again, and you can see I've highlighted the mystery tier we are in. You can choose, Nikki, you can choose one of these questions to answer. And because we are just getting to the story, we can kind of also have things happen in the narrative first that would then lead you to be like, oh, wait a second, why is this going on? So, of course, there's what makes the strange Professor Bain, guilt less likely. Like, what's something that, would make you feel kindly about them? Or perhaps what makes the stuck-up rival, Julia, so suspicious? Does she do something that makes you think?
Well, I think that Julia is suspicious because she is secretly really lame and she just wants to be the cool kid. And she's been pretending all this time to be cool, to try to be respected by her peers.
Someone she's not.
She's hiding something.
She's
using daddy's money to be cool, and she's really not that cool.
There you go. Because the glasses don't lie. And now, of course, for everyone else's benefit, we also have the third suspect, which hasn't been introduced yet. You can talk about you can introduce that into the narrative and answer that question, or we could talk about the potions lab, spelling of lemon, or the statue of the Rune Wolf. But for now, we're going to stick with the suspicious rival being so suspicious. Stalker Bravo being so suspicious. And is there anything else you guys want to say to each other or do before the scene moves along?
I'll tell Connor, don't worry, I got your back.
Thank you, Amethyst. I appreciate it.
I just make sure she gets that buck I owe her.
Yes, I put the dollar in my pocket.
All right. And so the first years are led out of the room by Professor Bain, with Julia Spellman glaring daggers at you, Amethyst. And you're led into a large amphitheater of a tower base. In the center of this tower base, there stands a bull on a pedestal, and it's ringed by stone seats filled with the students of the school. It is explained to you that to welcome the first years, you'll be called up each by name, and you will gaze into this stone basin. This basin is going to show you a vision. Now, the vision might be forward and clear as crystal, or it might be confusing and unknowable as of yet. But whatever it is, it will come to pass. Oh, and one final note, says Professor Bain. If you do not see a vision, the school has rejected you, and you'll be sent home immediately. Shall we go ahead and get started? The students are called up by name one at a time. And it looks like we already know your names, folks, but we don't have all your descriptions yet. So let's start with Connor. As named Connor is called up, what does everyone see? Who do they see walking towards this basin?
All right. I'm a very relatively short, even for my age. Very, very wide brimmed glasses. Just like classic, just nerdy kid. Maybe even a little bit of tape keeping the glasses together just to further, his nerdiness. Very. I don't carry myself well, but I have a very, like I said, very wide brimmed glasses and a blonde bowl cut.
Right. And with the eyes of the entire school on your neck, and you might even hear, and you think maybe it's Julia whisper something like, let's see, what would they call you? They're gonna call you Guadalope, which is a strange ape-like, Sasquatch-like creature that has 4 eyes, and so they're gonna call you Guadalope. You're gonna someone whisper like, it's the Guadalope, referring to your glasses.
Okay, I'm into that. Cool.
And you're going to gaze into this bowl. What do you see? Remember, this can be clear and straightforward, or it can be confusing as all heck.
As I gaze into the basin, I immediately met with what appears to be the gaping maw of some kind of underwater animal. Be it a shark, just a large fish, something, and I immediately scream and kind of back away from the basin, and then I run and hide behind Amethyst.
Students are going to laugh.
Might be a puddle behind me, I'm not sure.
But Professor Baines can kind of nod and be like, good. Those in fear tend to live longer.
That's what my dad always told me.
All right. Next, Amethyst. Amethyst, who do we see stepping forward in front of the entire school?
So currently, Amethyst has a darker skin, probably like a deep tan, Hispanic-looking skin, and her hair is currently half pink and half neon green. And her new clothes, even though they are brand new, are cut up and have like pins in them and stuff like that just to be a rebel, because that's what she does. But she goes up, and you said the vision can be of anything?
Yes, it could be crystal clear or confusing as you want it to be.
When she goes up, she looks into the basin and she sees Julia asking her for help.
Oh.
Like, looking honestly terrified. And she's like, help me, please, you have to help me. But she's not like, she's taking it as she's like the better person and the bigger person and wins whatever this is going to be coming forward.
Oh,
but she doesn't see what's going on around them.
I like it.
So she leaves the basin very smug, and she's like self-satisfied, giving Julia a glance and just winks at her.
Before you turn to leave, but Professor Bain is going to kind of go ahem, and get you to turn around and say, welcome to the campus. Now, I do trust you won't be in any trouble. We have enough young witches like you with your rebellious hair color.
She's like, what, this? And it immediately turns black and red.
She's like, oh, next.
She just gives a peace sign and walks back over to Connor and Owen. Or to Ian.
Ian, who do we see, as you're called up next, who do we see walking towards the basin?
If you could summarize Ian in one word, it would be average. He's got medium-length brown hair and a bit of a tossy mop. Not the most physically athletic build. He's wearing a t-shirt, and over top of that is an open button shirt and a pair of cargo pants attached about 3 or 4 chains on his right side, and a small silver necklace. The most notable thing about Mr. Ian is his eyes. They are dark brown and they're piercing. He doesn't say much, but when he looks at you, it's
amazing.
Like he's looking into your soul.
And what soul does he see in the basin?
When he looks into the basin, the first thing he sees is mist. Dark, swirling, and as it clears, he sees himself standing in a plain, open, broken rock beneath his feet. He looks around and calls out, hello? There's nothing, not even an echo. He calls out again and kind of hunches down a bit in fear. Hello? In the distance he hears, yes. And then nothing.
When you're brought back to reality, thinking of the strange sound you heard, you see Professor Bain kind of nodding approvingly. Ah, an ominous vision. It bodes well. I trust, Ian, that you will perform excellently in all of your classes. I have high hopes for you.
Ian just kind of stutters his way. Thank you, Professor, and quickly makes his way off.
Professor Mutter. I don't know. Maybe not. All right. So, with your trials all completed, you're welcomed into med school. The list of students goes on for probably too long, and it gets quite boring before the end. But at the end, the school's headmaster stands up and thanks Professor Bain for administering the test and welcomes the new school. He greets you and introduces himself as Mr. Wartbeard. And it's an apt name because on his beard there are warts that kind of just like stick out.
Like on the beard itself?
Yeah, like the beard is hair, but then flesh warts are coming out of the beard.
That's
Connor is not okay with
weird.
That's awesome.
It's very wizardly. So Headmaster Wartbeard is going to welcome you all to school. And he just goes over a few start of term rules and regulations. He does mention that over the summer, the statue of the Rune Wolf was vandalized, and he asked that the students refrain from messing with the construction, as it is a honored treasure of the school, and any student found tampering with the reconstruction efforts will be given detention swiftly and rapidly.
I will
Next
side-eye Amethyst.
What? I would never. And she rolls her eyes at the same time.
Ian just chuckles.
Next, he congratulates Julia Spellman for her excellent performance in the end of year tests last year, and congratulate her on being top of her class yet again. And finally, he says, we'll leave it to a few words from Professor Bain, who will stand up yet again. And what Professor Bain says is a brief public service announcement about werewolves. They could be in your neighborhood too. It's very cheesy, and it's like, if you see something, say something. And some of you, even who have magical, ties to the magical world, you might even recognize Professor Bain as a retired ex-werewolf hunter. Is there anything else you would like to say to each other or do before we turn the clock forward to your first class at the campus?
The only thing Amethyst would have done is when Julia was announced as head student, she would secretly start whispering, "Boo!"
Oh yeah, Ian would cast a spell to make that boo all around the amphitheater, so it sounds like everyone's going boo.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Let's see. Because you're kind of hidden. I'm not going to say you're in social peril, so it's going to work out just fine. And Julia is going to kind of stamp her feet and be like, "Well, I never." And Erica, and Laura are going to kind of start booing back at who they think who's booing. Like a counter boo. But
Can we try to aim it so that one of the Ericas look like they're the ones booing?
Yeah.
Oh, I think in that case, that definitely does run you the risk of social peril, because now you're trying to be very specific with it.
No, we're doing the whole anonymous thing.
Oh, okay.
As soon as our friend Miss Spellman does get up, Ian's gonna stand up and be like, "Can you be nice to her? She needs those glasses. That alone. I mean, come on, guys, stop booing."
Amethyst is just covering her face and hiding into Connor's back right now, laughing hysterically.
In the chaos, Ian, you hear some tiny little laughter, kind of at the corner wall, and you look down to see there's a small little house mouse, kind of just chuckling, good one.
Aww.
Yeah, I flipped the mouse a quick wink, which looks really weird because it looks like I'm winking at the floor, but okay.
The mouse tries to wink back, but because it's not a social signal mice are used to, he winks with two eyes.
That makes sense. That totally makes sense.
All right. Well, I think we're going to turn the page to your first class at a wizard school. Now, Owen, I think you have some pretty cool ideas. What's the first class of the year?
The first class of the year is actually the most important. It is in the School of the Chronomancers, and it is called Arcane Time Management.
Nice.
Wow, you can tell this is a prestigious school. They're already having their first year as mess of time.
Oh god.
Oh no! This is not really so much about messing with time. This course is about how to use your magical planner.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, the higher years, the second, third years, they get to start dinking around with time proper.
So I like to imagine before the class starts, there's a bunch of excited whispers of like, "Oh my God, we're going to time travel, guys!" And then when the professor walks in, who I'm going to say is Madam Cher.
Is she super monotone?
Yes.
Ah, lovely.
Does she believe in life after love?
If she's asked that in the class, she's going to look at you solemnly, put her hand in her heart, and say, "No." And she's going to start talking about her beloved.
Share.
She's going to start talking about her beloved Nick and how life's never been the same, and now she's working this dead-end job teaching magic planner classes.
We should just celebrate life by singing today instead of learning about planning.
She's like, "That's an excellent idea, Amethyst. I particularly do like the song," and she'll lead you in a rendition of the school song. Very monotone, though. Now,
I'm gonna try to light fireworks behind. No, I'm kidding.
Lean into Nikki and be like, "Thanks, I appreciate that. My ears are bleeding."
I'm glad I could help.
Now, when we're talking about spellcasting, all have 3 different ways that your relationship with magic can change. If you look at your studies on your student sheet, you have a sentence, "My spells," and blank, and you can fill in that sentence. And the answers are, my spells always cast like a charm. Second one, my spells usually do the trick, or my spells seem to have a mind of their own. Now, each of these defines your relationship with magic, and they each have a special ability. And actually, we're actually testing out some new ways of looking at these abilities. And you notice that all of them have a mechanical ability, and then all of them have kind of like a fun narrative ability, except for the middle one, because it's a playtest and we're getting there. That one just has a mechanical ability. But go ahead and choose one of those options. Now, if you're reading them, you might have some questions, and so both of them, many of them, include a bonus to your roll when you cast a spell while you're rolling. So just so you're aware, when you roll a dice, you can choose to cast a spell with it, and sometimes that's even required because, as the headmaster, I might tell you at some points, you cannot accomplish this task you can't do things with this task without magical help. It's beyond mortals or non-magic ways. But this is a way to kind of add to your chances in your roll. Now,
so for C, what does learn to mean?
Well, we're gonna get there real quick, because at certain points during the game, you get to learn spells and add them to your spell book. You guys have already been casting spells here and there, and I've just let it happen. Also because it's good data to have that students just want to have their spells out like that and cast things. But for spells that you use to have a solid mechanical effect, I'm actually going to require that there are spells in your spell book. And you get to learn these spells as gameplay goes on. So you're going to learn them in 2 different circumstances. One is if you take a specific kind of scene, which we'll get into scenes later on, where you will get a chance to do it. Another one is actually a friendship situation, which we're going to talk about, where you can teach another friend a spell or remind them of a spell that they learned about in class. But what it basically means, whenever you get a chance to learn one, instead of one, you get 2. So you're going to fill your spell up really fast, and you get lots of variety and versatility when it comes to mechanically useful spells. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So go ahead and let me know which ones you choose. Oh, and you should know, so number B, start with a signature spell. You have your normal spells and you have your signature spells. Normally how this works, when you end a school year, you are going to get rid of all your spells except for one. And that one spell gets added to your signature spell list. And that spell will always be with you and it also gets an additional bonus that always goes up every year. So if you take B, you're actually going to start with a signature spell, and so you're going to always have one more signature spell than everyone else that's not taking the B option.
Interesting.
So I think that makes the decision. I'm going to go with B, and my signature spell will be that spell I told you about before, the whoops.
There you go. So you got B. Nikki and Greg, what are you feeling?
I think I'm gonna have a mind of their own, because Amethyst isn't great. Like, she has this hair trick down spot on, because it's like she's been doing it for almost 2 years now. But everything else, she's just like, I don't know. Cast it to the best of my ability, and it probably is gonna mess up.
Sounds good to me. And it looks like Greg, you're taking A. So, learning spells. And actually at this point, because you're your first magic class, you get to learn a spell too. For you, Ian, because you have B, the first spell you learn is going to be a signature spell. So here's the deal. You get to make it the spell. We only have 3 criteria that limit what the spell can be. So, number 1 criteria, a student cannot learn or cannot create a spell that inflicts dramatic harm. Just because of the nature of this, this theme and tone of this game, there's no dramatic harm going around. Number 2, a spell must provide insight to the narrative, character trait, or background of the student creating it. And, you can have some liberties with that. And number 3, and finally, the spell must have a whimsical limitation. Now, that's vague on purpose. Everyone can interpret it differently. But for things that previous players have done, one player made a spell where they could create a copy of a person, and from a distance, that person looks like that person, so it can trick people. But if you get closer, it actually turns out that the copy looks like a porcelain doll of the person. So it's kind of a creepy whimsical limitation, but it's still whimsical. Or,
That's a big old nope from me.
Yeah, or another one is like, the spell will, grow hair all over the body, except it makes you bald as well, like in your head. And for your case, Nikki, because you're supposed to have a mind of your own, every time you cast a spell, you change the whimsical limitation. You just make up something crazy that that makes it different.
Sweet.
In that case, I want to say the first thing about my signature spell here is it pretty much universally does the same thing. It does chores, cleans up, and does minor healing. It's not really exactly what I want. For example, if I were to cast a spell to open a lock, it might open the lock, but not open the door.
Right. Okay. Yeah. I get what you mean. Sounds good to me. And so you're going to write the incantation down and the effect.
Done and done.
Now, creating spells can be a bit intimidating and make you think a bit. Greg and Nikki, how are you feeling about that?
You can go ahead, Nikki. I'm still thinking.
So I was kind of thinking that because she's being rebellious, she needs something. I can go one of 2 ways. Either I can go with something that purely is rebellious, or I can go with something that's more get me out of trouble.
I think just the ability to conjure fire. Just be like, oh, you're in my face? Little hand of fire.
That can go so poorly, though.
It's like a backhand.
Exactly!
I know what I want. I want the equivalent of Mage Hand, so I can pull pranks on people.
Nice.
There you go. All right. What's that going to be called? Let's see. Some fun ideas for names.
What's her character's name? What's her character's name?
Amethyst.
Amethyst, awesome.
Arcanus Handus.
Amethyst, awesome appendage.
There you go.
Nice.
Amethyst awesome appendage, and it's an invisible hand that can let me do things like from a distance, like ruffling up people's hair, stealing a piece of paper out from under them, grabbing something that I'm not supposed to have.
Right, I like it. And then every time you cast it, you can make a new whimsical like thing that limits it.
Question for you. Is it always an invisible hand? Could you make it visible and use it to do like hand signals?
Well, that could be one of the whimsical effects. Like she does invisible hand to flick off somebody and oh crap, it's visible.
Nice.
Yeah, I like that. How about you, Greg? Do you have a spell?
Yeah. I've been doing my own hair for quite a few years now, and I've mastered the art of the bowl cut. So my spell is going to be called Boli Boli Boli, and it basically creates, it causes hair to grow on wherever I point my wand or what have you, and it forms a perfect bowl cut.
I like it.
Oh my god, Amethyst is gonna have to become friends with you even more.
Does it only so it forms a bowl cut, so does it only work with hair, or like does it turn anything into a bowl?
I was thinking just hair, but we can go further than that if you'd like.
You haven't tried it on anything else.
That's true.
It's totally up to you.
He walks up to the statue of the headmaster and casts it. This beautiful ancient statue of the founder of the school gets the nerdlinger look and just.
All right, sounds good to me. Now we all have our first spells, and just so you know, whenever you learn a spell, you can always replace an old spell with a new one on your sheet, in case one's just not doing it for you, or you've run out of room. For signature spells, that's not the case. All set to go. So you all have your spells. You did your first day of magic school. The day goes on, and Connor, to your discomfort in one of the classes, a large fish is like put onto the desk like to examine, and it has like these very scary sharp teeth.
I immediately hide under the desk.
Oh my god, I want to do something.
Yeah, what?
I don't want to be mean to Greg or to Connor, but I want to make the fish move.
Well, you totally can.
I'm going to use my Amethyst awesome appendage and make it start to wiggle around and dance.
Now, do I have to roll to piss myself?
No, you don't. That is not on the list of criteria, so you can just do it.
Free action.
I do that. Free action, pee myself.
Alright, so while this fish is dancing around, Ian's gonna go up. What's the name of our rival?
Julia.
It's Julia Spellman.
So he's gonna go up to the fish and be like, "Hey, Julia, what you do? You changed your hair? You're looking good."
Oh my gosh, that's funny. Now, of course, Julia is not in this class. She's just a year ahead of you. But
I'm good with that, but it's she.
But other students like Carrie and they laugh hysterically. The teacher, Miss Montague, is going to say, Ian, if you spent more time on your schoolwork and instead of making jokes with fishes, I'm sure you'd be doing much better in this class.
Yeah, Ian.
I turn to the teacher and say, I don't know about that. I think there's something fishy with that logic.
Amethyst starts cracking up laughing, and the fish falls to the desk with a thump.
While you guys are doing your best to get yourself in trouble, let me tell you a little bit about your Misadventure Abilities on your character sheet. Here's the deal. When you roll the dice, and you roll lower than a 7, and you have not gained control of the narrative, I'm in control, and I'm going to be answering some on the mystery sheet. Oh, yes, by the way, more answers on the mystery sheet you have, the better it is for you at the end, because that's how he makes the mystery easier and less dangerous to solve. The more answers I have, the worse it is for you. Anyway, so when you roll, and you roll poorly, you can always use your Misadventure ability. And what that means is you can choose to gain a point of trouble, which we record on the mystery sheet. And every time you gain a point of trouble in that manner, I roll the dice. If I roll lower than the trouble score, basically, that means you get detention. That means you're in serious trouble. And because you're in detention, you're not out investigating, and the mystery gets more difficult.
So every point of trouble is probably going to come from Amethyst and Ian right now.
I believe that.
And I also have the special ability to just give you mystery points if the trouble if the narrative dictates it. However, when I do that, I don't get to roll. It just adds to the total and makes it more difficult the next time you do roll.
Makes sense.
All right. So you've gone through your first week of wizard school, and I would like you guys to tell me, what is the moment when you guys are like, yeah, we're friends, aren't we? Kind of like you've been hanging out for a couple of days and you're like, wow, I think I like these people. I think we're friends.
I mean, Connor immediately attached onto Amethyst as soon as she decided to jump in front of or steal Julia's glasses and kind of protect him.
She's a hero in her own way.
And in Connor's eyes, yes.
I want to say Ian appreciates Amethyst because Amethyst appreciates Ian's humor, and Ian sees Connor as his little sidekick buddy.
Yeah!
Come on, let's go get into mischief together.
Okay.
So you have
Probably not, though.
So we have the kind of the dynamics defined, and you're going to look at your friendship ability on your character sheet, and you have some blank lines, and they're labeled, and there's a friend label on top of it. You're going to write down the names of the other characters on those sheets, so you have it just for you to look at right there. And you also notice that there's little circles beneath these names. During play, after we have the scene, I'm going to ask you folks if you think you should mark any names. And this is going to be after every scene. And you get to mark a name, and only one name, when you personally think another player's roleplay has made your stories, one of your stories, more interesting or fun for that chapter. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes, it does. One quick question, though. Are these just the other player names, or are these going to be like our rivals or NPCs?
Right, it's just the other player
whatever,
names.
what have you.
Okay.
Now, friendship has two abilities, and when you use one of the abilities, you spend the mark. Basically, to do it, you can only do it with a friend that you have marked already. The first one is you can remind anytime you can remind a friend of a spell they learned in class, and even if they didn't, and maybe it's kind of like you're retconning. You're saying, "Oh, remember that class we did off screen? Remember that spell? You should use that spell." And they can add that spell to their spell book.
Does it have to be a spell that you know? So, like, I can teach Amethyst Hand, or...
It does not. You can be like, I can't believe you're such a good witch. Like, don't you remember that spell you were showing me? Use that one.
Gotcha.
And so you can use this to learn a spell at any point during the story. And when you use this, you're the one who basically tells them what the spell is.
Gotcha. Or we can
Okay.
use it to help further the investigation.
Exactly. The other one is when one student answers a question, you also get to answer a question. You get to be like, oh yeah, that's a good insight because, and by the fact that you figured that out, I just realized that this is a thing, or maybe you find another clue while they're investigating. And then whenever you do that, you could teach them a spell or you add another answer, you uncheck their name. So it's a resource.
Got it.
And that's once per year?
We're going to do it every, basically, scene.
Okay.
I'm going to ask you the question. At this point, you have your character sheet filled out and you completed your first week of magic school.
That was a
Now-
really weak move. I apologize. Woo! There we go.
We are the best mages in this entire school, guys.
Before we get into the rest of the school year, we're going to turn the page and the scene is going to open up. You're at breakfast, right? And Professor Bain, who is up at the teacher's table, is going to clear his throat and magically amplify his voice and say, "Students, if I could have your attention, please. It has come to my attention. There is a werewolf amongst you. Now, please do not panic. I am trained in the art of tracking and apprehension of these beasts. Fear not, I will not let it harm you. You can rest assured, I will find it." And there's like kind of like a hushed, like, is he serious? Like, who's the werewolf? And even like some of the teachers are like, "Are you serious? That's kind of crazy. Why did you just say that?"
That sounds like a bold, stupid decision.
Ian just gets quiet.
Is there anything you'd like to say to each other or do before we jump into the rest of the school year?
I bet it's Julia.
It's an awfully bold statement, but I can't imagine. I mean, we have no proof backing up that it's not. Granted, we have none that it is, but
I just said I bet. I didn't say I had proof. I'm gonna start the rumor that it's Julia, though.
you do you.
Normally, Ian would jump right in on this Julia baiting, but he's still just chilling here quiet, looking off into the distance.
Amethyst will
a little
nudge
curled
Ian
in
and
on
go,
himself.
"Ian, did you hear me? Come on. Where's with the laughter?"
He looks over at Amethyst and goes, "Ha! Ha! Yeah."
This is where I would roll an insight check if this was 5.
It's gonna be a hairy situation, guys.
The thing we have
Thank you,
instead
thank
of insight check is you ask the player, "What insight do I get towards you?" But as this is going on, one of your fellow classmates, I'm going to call him or her, Nancy Clay, who you've come to know as this like nosy busybody. So he comes sit down next to you guys and he's like, "Did you guys hear? It's a werewolf. Who do you think it is?" And
I'm
she's-
pretty sure the entire school just heard.
Ian turns to Nancy and goes, "Shut up about that."
"Oh, sensitive about something, Ian?"
Ian just glares.
We think it's Julia.
"Julia, you don't say." "Oh my God! Wait till my friends hear about this." See, well, actually, I gotta go. I think I'm late for potions class. You know, have you heard that there was like some weird thing going on where like it's been smelling of lemons? Like, I've never known a potion to smell good, let alone to smell like lemons. But like, I swear, every time you go in there, it smells like lemons now. It wasn't the first couple of days, but it just stuck there.
I just assumed that it was clean.
They clean with Pledge.
Oh, you would think, but like, I don't know. They're probably gonna clean the bell tower with the bats before they clean the potions lab.
I guess that's a fair point.
All right, I gotta go, guys. Wow, who would have thought? Julia,
Be sure to spread the
Screw
rumor.
it.
Bye.
After
you're like, bye, Ian.
after she's left, Ian turns to these other two and goes, "That's not going to bite us in the ass, is it?"
Nah.
And as long as we don't turn into werewolves afterwards, I think we'll be okay.
Yeah. Funny. And he just kind of goes back to being quiet.
The school bell is gonna ring from the bell tower, and we jump into the rest of the school year. The way this works is we divide gameplay into scenes. If you turn to page 21, or actually, excuse me, page 22, we call these scenes chapters. Students have their own specific chapters, and the headmaster, right now in this build at least, I can use student chapters and my own specific chapters. Each player is going to take a turn choosing a chapter, choosing a scene, basically. And you have a list of available chapters. And each chapter has a bit of a special ability that kind of like says, if you do this during this chapter, this will happen. And so available to you have Investigate in the Castle, which is when you're out and about and you're going somewhere you shouldn't be. And when you take that chapter and you answer a question on the sheet, you can actually answer a question that I've marked but have not yet answered. So if I've like blocked a question away from you and said like it's too mysterious, it's a dead end, if you go where you shouldn't go, you could probably get away. You could probably figure out what's going on eventually. Alternatively, if I have no marked questions, you just get a bonus to your roll instead, because that's more likely to find a clue. The next chapter that's available to you is the Managing Mischief chapter. It's all about you fixing the problems you've caused and fixing other people's problems. So during that chapter, if you try being the keyword, you don't have to succeed, try to fix a problem that is not related to the mystery at hand of a classmate professor, including yourselves, you can reduce your trouble score by 2. And so it's kind of like a trouble management thing. And then finally, you have your Magic School Days chapter, which is a slice of life chapter, in which you definitely attend a class and you get to learn a spell. And so you can kind of use those to control where the narrative is throwing. Of course, during those chapters, you can still do anything you want to do. You can still try to investigate. You can still talk to. We're gonna still have your stories interacting with you guys, but it's just a way to add more direction to a scene.
Question about the scenes.
Yeah.
The benefits. If I choose Magical School Days, do we all learn a spell, or do I learn a spell?
That's correct. You all learn a spell.
So in that case, if one of us chooses to investigate, we actually get 3 questions off that sheet.
Oh, that's a great question. So, rules as intended, you get 1 question.
Okay, so the only one that impacts us all is the Magical School Days then, right?
Yes, that'd be true. Although, of course, if everyone rolls and everyone gets a high success, you can get 3 questions. It's just you can unlock 1 unanswerable question. But
Okay.
great question. It actually does not say that in the text. And finally, you have a 4th chapter that's called Save the School. That's basically we're ready to finish the mystery chapter. Once you have done enough research and you think you have enough answers, you can go ahead and choose that chapter, and that means I'm going to begin the climatic conclusion chapter immediately. Now, if
I heard it was Julia.
Yeah, exactly. Now, if you take the Save the School chapter before I get to do my climatic conclusion chapter, you get a bonus. If I do mine before you, then it becomes harder.
Interesting.
It's a bit of a race.
Very interesting.
Now, if we were together at a table, we'd have a prop wand, and we would pass it around with each other whenever it's your turn to pick a chapter. So I'm going to start with Owen. I'm going to give you the wand, and you're going to pick a chapter. When you pick a chapter, you have some responsibilities. First, you're going to tell us where the chapter opens up. What's going on? Where are we? And second, you get to narrate the intent of the chapter. You can okay, today, the students set off to go to herbology class where they're going to plan to, and you can lay out a plan if you like, or we're going to see where it goes.
Fair enough. Yes, I get it. I like it. So if you're ready?
Yes, we're all ready. Go ahead. You have the wand, Ian. What's our first chapter?
Early in the morning, about a week and a day or so since arriving at the school, we are all woken up for a disgustingly early class. We walk out before dawn, and as we're walking towards the sparse wooded area in the far distance, we notice that beautiful sunrise and those misty birds. We end up getting to the small grove of trees and sitting down waiting for our professor who simply calls himself Thud. Now, Thud is a fairly round individual, about 5 feet tall and about 4.5 feet wide, with a very large bulbous nose and a rather interesting looking gray cap. Now, Thud likes to teach a variety of animal-based magic, and today he's teaching us how to call forth friends of the forest is the intention. So we can either bring them in and learn how to talk to them through magic, or we can bring them in and have them do minor tasks for us.
I love it. I love it indeed. So, I'm sure class is going to, go on as normal. And I'm curious, let's see, how do you go about calling friends of the forest?
I would just like to ask the professor really quick. There's no fish in the woods, right?
I heard there's flying fish.
And Thud's gonna be like, well, actually, you're right. There are flying fish. You see, it all goes back to Wizinoff the Mad, who was a headmaster here way back in the day. He goes off and how this crazy headmaster liked to experiment and transfigured a fish into a fish with wings that could breathe air. And it's just they tried to capture most of them and put them out of their misery. But some have escaped and are now breeding in the forest. But he's like, but don't worry your precious 11-year-old heart about it, Connor. They don't have they're minnows and other prey fish.
I'm still a little scared, but okay.
And then when he brings up another student, will say, Professor Thud, is it true what they say about the beast? And the professor
Amethyst peeks up. She's like, beast? What beast?
The professor is like, oh, that old story. No.
Yeah, the story of Spellman, right?
Everyone's gonna chuckle. But Erica with a K, who is actually a year below, is in the class, and she's gonna Ian, shut up, Ian.
Ian's just going to turn to Erica and, in his best Erica voice, be like, shut up, Ian.
Thud is going to say, oh no, it's just a legend. Don't worry about it. Just a tall tale.
Are there any raccoons in the forest?
Oh yeah,
plenty. I heard they're the sneakiest of the animals.
Oh, I would say so. I once fell in love with a raccoon, and he goes.
That's a sentence.
And he goes off on this tangent about how, he met a raccoon who turned out to be a lady witch who could transfigure herself.
Oh, thank God.
Yeah.
I don't want to ask the professor any more questions.
He's not one for.
I'm just gonna say to myself from now on.
Of course. I would say, of course, during this, Erica is going to launch a dirt clod at you, Ian, but miss and hit Connor.
Every time.
He just straight up laughs.
I'm just gonna fix my glasses and wipe the dirt off of my person.
I cast whoops and clean them up.
Actually, oh, and I forgot, what chapter did you choose?
Magical studies.
All right. So,
I'd like to learn a new spell.
Yeah. So go ahead and tell me what spell you learn.
So I don't know about the rest of these guys, but since my character seems to already know how to talk with animals, he's more focused on learning how to summon them. in particular, large volumes of small critters. So, his spell that he gets today is called Say Hello to My Little Friends, and it summons dozens or scores or maybe even hundreds of tiny furry friends. Anything ranging from a small dog to a mouse, and they just come scurrying towards him.
Oh, I love that. That's great. Go ahead and write that down. Now, of course, anyone else, you can interrupt me and say this is the spell I'm learning. But as class continues, it's interrupted by a howl coming from the forest. And everyone kind of freezes. And Thud's like,
nope, not everyone freezes. The moment that howl is there, since we are outside, Ian books it. Going as fast as he can, right back to the school.
and I think Ian's going to start a trend. The other students are going to be like, once one student bolts, other students are going to start bolting. Like, oh no. They're going to be like, it's the werewolf. Oh no.
Straight up, see it.
Like Scooby-Doo running sounds.
Yeah, I love it.
Nikki, let's see. So there was a howl from the forest, and then Ian just booked it and started running, and it started a stampede of the students running with him away up to like to the castle, away from the magical creatures class, as they heard the howl.
Okay. Did Connor run with them?
Oh yeah. Honestly, I'm surprised that I didn't run first.
Amethyst is gonna go investigate.
Oh yeah? Alright.
I'll just branch off immediately.
She doesn't want.
Never split the party.
Well, did the professor run too?
No, Thud is not. He has pulled his wand and is looking ominous. He's looking with beaded eyes into the forest. What was that? And he's gonna say, best you head back to the castle, miss. Could be dangerous. And he's gonna turn his back to you.
Yeah, of course. I will just do that, and I will head not towards the castle, but out of his line of sight.
So you're gonna make your way into the dangerous dark forest on the edge of the precipice and the canyon. And I'm sure after the stampede is settled, Connor, and once Ian gets back, you're gonna kind of like notice you're like breathing heavily, like, oh wait, where's our friend?
Yeah,
where's Amethyst?
That's actually what I was about to say.
So we're gonna.
I will find Ian amongst the group of people, and I'll just kind of like tug on his sleeve and just kind of motion to the crowd of people, sans Amethyst, and just kind of be like, we gotta go find her.
So Amethyst, you're heading into Dark Forest, is that correct?
Yep. I don't want to fight anything specifically. I just want to see what is going on.
Oh, sure, yeah. And curiosity never killed the cat. And we're going to move through the forest, having a few twigs crunch underfoot. And there's nothing around. It's, if you were looking for something, it's strange, it's not here. But then there's another howl. And it's coming from the rim of the canyon, like the precipice to the canyon.
I will walk towards the rim.
And you're
cautiously
leading at it, coming towards it, and you can see where it drops off and it goes out into this endless chasm. And you're like, where on earth is this thing? And that's when the earth beneath you kind of gives away. Like, how there can be like a cliff edge of dirt that sticks out, that arches outwards, and there's no support beneath it. And it kind of starts collapsing. Mm-hmm. And it's not you don't just like plummet. You see it coming towards you, and you see a tree like fall down into the chasm, and you kind of lose a bit of your grip, and you're in peril right now. What do you do?
Can I use my fancy hand to catch myself? I don't know if that's how it works.
I'm thinking so. It's all about bringing things towards you. So I don't think you can
True.
move yourself. But I'm sure there's things around you that you can move to you or in front of you to block you falling off. Like maybe pull there's some bigger trees there. You could pull a broken log over to be in front of you so it catches you or something. Or while you think about that, Amethyst, let's gonna cut back and we'll have the scene with Connor and finding Ian.
Okay.
Right. So, breathing heavily, I take a quick look around and notice that everybody, sans Amethyst, has kind of ran in the direction with everybody. So I take a quick gander and I locate Ian, and I kind of just walk over to him and I grab his, either tap him on the shoulder or grab his sleeve and just kind of pull on it a little bit, and I say, Amethyst didn't come with us. We have to find her.
Ian, as soon as he's touched, yelps in panic and turns and looks at his little compatriot in fear for a moment before recognition wipes over his face. Amethyst isn't with us? Oh, that's not good.
I would say not, for sure. Also, no one's ever been scared of me before. That's a really interesting feeling.
Ian just pushes him away and starts walking back towards Amethyst.
Wait for me! Follow behind him.
So, you're going to head into the forest, and we're going to open up back to Amethyst. The edge is tumbling away. You have your wand in your hand. What do?
I'm going to use my Amethyst awesome appendage and pull a large branch that's sticking out of the side of the wall and pull it towards me, because there's another branch that's a V shape, so I'm hoping I can make a plank.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea. Why don't you go ahead and roll the dice?
This isn't gonna go well. Oh hey, I got a 9.
There you go. Very good. But what is the whimsical limitation?
It did it a little too hard, I guess. Or pulled more than I thought it would.
Sure. Or let's see. That's just a pure negative consequence. What's something that it doesn't have to be too bad. It doesn't have to be a consequence per se, but something, because your spells have the mind of their own. Something that you didn't expect to happen. That kind of puts a funny edge on things.
The end lit on fire of the stick, but I was able to put it out.
I like that.
It's oh no.
And so I'm sure you can tell me what happens because you have control of the narrative right now. But I'm sure it kind of stops you, and you're moments away from tumbling off into the precipice. Now, you also get to answer a question on the mystery sheet. Would you like to answer the question before or after Connor and Ian show up?
After.
So you're stuck there, and then they show up right behind you, and you see Amethyst having barely saved herself by pulling the branch to her, kind of moments away from tumbling away from the forest into the precipice beneath, around the castle.
Okay.
And I'm going to go ahead and screen share.
Okay. So the first thing that Ian would do is be like, hey guys, some help would be nice. And see if he can summon some beasties to possibly go over and give Amethyst a hand up using the spell I just learned.
Well, there you go. I think you can just go ahead and do that without having to roll the dice.
Excellent. A series of, I'm going to go ahead with bats because they're close.
It's true.
Start towards you and quite literally bodily pick you up and put you back on the ground there, young Amethyst.
She's thanks. I totally had it. So there was I think whatever made the noise is like really far in the void, or it can throw its voice really good. Which is also what my answer is for what surprising magical power does it possess for the secret monster.
So the answer is it can throw its voice?
It can throw its voice to trick you where its location is.
So as soon as Ian hears that, he's like, well, in that case, the safest place is probably inside. So let's make like a tree and get out of here.
I don't think that's how that's supposed to go, but yeah.
You could have stopped
I
that sentence after the third word. You're still out here. Come on, let's go.
I was just trying to get an eye on like what the thing was with howling. I think it's just like a trick or something. I don't think it's real.
Ian stops, turns, and looks Amethyst dead in the eye. He's quiet for a second. He's quiet for a second, and then very, very, very quietly says, do you have any idea what a lycanthrope will do to you?
Well, if it's like anything like the book that I read, it like hugs you and stuff and like wants to be your friend.
He slowly shakes his head. You can notice the skin that he has paling a bit. And he's like, no, you don't want to know. And he just keeps walking.
Okay. She'll like follow. But the entire time she keeps looking over her shoulder trying to see what was howling.
So,
as they're walking, Ian tells a story about his uncle. His uncle happened to be just a logger, but had an encounter with a were-bear, and Ian was in the group of people that found his remains.
I'm sorry to hear about your uncle.
It happened a while ago, and then he gets quiet.
If it makes you feel any better, now you can control bats.
Ian kind of laughs and goes, no.
I think one of the bats that you summoned, that you kind of used them, and they're returning to their homes now. One kind of comes by you and chirps at you, and it was like, "Whoo, that was close." Call us whenever you need help, Ian.
Give him like the double gun arrows to the bat and be like, all right, buddy. Of course, no one knows that I can speak to animals, so.
So, Connor, I assumed you were kind of following along with all that, and I'm sure that your school days are going to continue to pass. What spell do you want to learn, Amethyst and Connor? It doesn't have to be from the magic or the magic beast class, although it can be just kind of like in this time period, because we can be very flexible with the time that scenes take in game.
Okay, so just to clarify, I am learning just any spell.
Because Owen chose to take the Magic School Days chapter, which learns you all the stuff.
Oh, gotcha. Okay. Huh. Let's see here. I suppose I would want to learn something that would, in a way, allow me to try to start taking the steps to conquering my fear of aquatic creatures or just water in general. So I would like to learn how to conjure just images of little sea creatures, just like a minor illusion type deal.
Okay, I like that. So you can go ahead and figure out the incantation for that and add it to your spell book. Now, of course, while you are
Already
studying that, and maybe it's in some sort of class or on your own in the library, you come across bit of a text in a magical tome about the Rune Fish. And this Rune Fish, it seems to be kind of this scary, shark-like behemoth that is like ancient wizards and witches like kind of talked about and studied. And there's some speculation in what you're reading if it's real or not, and what its magical powers might actually be.
Are there pictures?
Yeah, there is. It's an artist's interpretation. And think of it, it's like a cross between how a shark might turn, but then there's some dolphin elements to it, but then you add some dinosaur fish nose to it with these sharp teeth. And of course,
Connor is researching that. Does Ian find out? Like, I'm thinking Ian walks by him and goes, "Oh, that's neat. My uncle once told me that they only like little boys with bowl cuts. They find them delectable." And walk away.
That's just rude.
And just make that little comment. Be like, "My uncle told me," and leave. No conversation. just this is a fact now. These things eat little blonde children.
Oh, man.
Connor's gonna have nightmares for like ever.
I mean, I already do, but it's not helping, for sure. I guess I would just immediately shut the book, and put it back on the shelf where it was found. Take a mental note of what the creature looked like, and then slowly cry my way out of the library.
Oh no, poor baby.
As he's crying his way out of the library, if I see that, Ian's just going to be like, "Hey man, I wouldn't do that. They can smell your tears."
Can Amethyst be like, "Dude, seriously, stop"?
I will immediately begin trying to gather my tears and then put them back into the wells of which they came.
He's just messing with you.
You can never be too safe.
You can though, because he's just messing with you.
Is that true, Ian?
Ian just shrugs and says, "My uncle said that's all."
Ian.
I don't like your uncle.
That's all right. I don't like my uncle either. He's just got some good stories.
As long as that's all they are, is stories.
When Ian was telling Amethyst about his uncle in the lycanthrope, could I have used my friendship ability to get another question answered?
Well, you would need to have a checked box next to a name, right?
Well, I haven't used anything, so do we start with a checkbox
what a
next to
good
the
question.
names?
Never thought about that. I think you probably should.
I assumed we did because it says unmark their names, so I assumed we started with a checkbox.
Mm-hmm.
But if
No,
it's
you're right. Actually, no, I think it makes sense to start with it. And also, Owen, I can see that you're angling you're interacting with Greg's story. So I think even if we're starting with a checkbox, you can get a second one. See, that's new information for you.
Yay, super special!
I know, special treatment. But yes, we can start with all checked things. So,
was that little Karibo?
now that I think of it, so Nikki, Connor wasn't answering a question.
No, this was earlier when Ian brought up, "Do you know anything about lycanthropes?"
Yeah, the angsty moment.
So let's see.
That's a way to put it.
Yes, I think you should be able. So because usually when you use this friendship ability, it's when someone else answers the question. However, I mean, organically as a dungeon master, I want to say yes to that right now. So we're going to say yes, and I'm going to write that down in my notes about the playtest.
So just flipping that over, how this works is we all start with one of these friendship points for each of our friends. And when we do something, we can blow a friendship point to get an extra thing for that thing, correct?
I guess so. Rules is written for this current playtest is when another friend that is marked has done something, has answered a question, you can also answer a question.
All right, so in that case, can I blow my friendship point with Amethyst and answer another question?
Yes, you can. Let's do that first, and then we'll.
Okay.
All right, so I've only got the. Can I blow my friendship points with both Amethyst and Connor and answer 2 questions?
I did give you 2 friendship points. Yes.
All right, so I'm gonna blow them both, and I'm gonna answer a couple of questions. Let's have a look see at that list.
There we go. We have so far 2 questions are answered, and you need 4 questions to pass this mystery tier. So available questions.
And just to make sure, like we can't say what could motivate the strange professor to be up to no good until we've said what he's less likely, correct?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
All right. So the first thing is the strange professor's guilt is less likely because he is a decorated, well-known werewolf hunter. So that makes him significantly less likely to be the bad guy. Now, flipping over to our friend, the stuck-up rival, she is actually the youngest daughter of her family, and her older sister, who is 3 years older, like she's daddy's girl, and our rival is trying her hardest to, live up to that. So she wants to be the best in the school, regardless of what that looks like. So she's willing to cheat or lie or just overall be bad news.
Be the best by any means.
By any means.
I like that motivation.
And yeah, and it's completely and totally. It's not like she's trying to stick up for anyone in the school. It's completely and totally, look, I'm not just a piece of garbage.
Right, yeah.
But secretly, she really is.
Oh, yeah.
That's great. Now, Amethyst, do you want to use yours?
I did. We can go to the next box now, though.
It's true. Right,
Yeah,
we have
totally
4
can.
answers, and so...
If that's the case, can I change my answer on the strange professor to one of the next ones? 1, 2, 3. Never mind. We need it there. I'm buckets of dumb.
Yeah, so let's see. We got who would you encounter lurking around the potions lab after hours? And we can wrap that scene into kind of like, the school days. Or we can, about the secret monster, how does it hide itself from the students? And you are in a library right now.
I want that one.
So, yeah, answer the question, but also tell me through the narrative how your character comes across this information.
So after this event that we had with the howling and the falling and the almost dying, Amethyst has snuck her way into the library a couple of times because she doesn't want other people to know that she wants to read.
Yeah,
Ha! Nerd.
She wants to still be like this rebellious type. So she's gone to the library a couple of times, and she has been reading up on creatures that howl and creatures that throw their voice and like how they stay hidden, because she doesn't think it's a werewolf.
Interesting. All right. Yeah.
Personally, she doesn't think it's a werewolf. It might be. It probably is, but she doesn't. She's like adamant that it's not a werewolf.
Probably.
So she starts to research to find out how it would either stay hidden from her or how it would throw its voice. But I think since I get to choose, it could just be like able to camouflage itself into its natural surroundings if it's in like the foresty areas.
Here's a question for its camouflage. Is it like changing color like a chameleon, or is it like shrouding like the Jem'Hadar?
I was thinking more like Predator.
Yeah, Predator. Not please disregard the archaic Deep Space Nine reference.
Oh, I got
Predator. We'll go with Predator.
I'm gonna go with more chameleon. Like it changes its color to mesh with its surroundings, but it also just kind of like stays in like darker, shadowy places.
So not like true invisibility.
No, not invisible. Like I thought about invisibility, but I'm like, that makes it really hard.
So like what we see at this scene is you're going over these ancient texts and you're reading about how there's a couple different magical creatures that can do this. And if it was a TV show, we might cut back. Like if it was a really like kind of cheesy TV show, we cut back to the scene in the forest. And as the characters leave, we kind of pan and we see some movement like in the trees where you guys were, and you see like the shifting color of something.
Nice.
I like it.
I'm very into that.
Interesting. So when she reads this, she's going to go and tell Ian and Connor. She's like, guys, guess what I just found out.
As you get up from your little desk at the library, you turn around and Connor's just standing right behind you.
Where did you come from?
Oh,
Ian's
I've seen you come here a couple times.
Ian's also standing there, and he's like, I followed you. You're a nerd.
Shut up. Don't say that too loud.
Whatever, nerd.
She's going to use her mage hand to cover his mouth. Her amethyst awesome appendage to cover his mouth.
All right, yeah, it works.
And then I'll share what I found.
So immediately, Ian is super interested in the fact that it's not a werewolf.
Yeah, I don't think it's a werewolf, guys. I think it's this weird creature that can like throw its voice and camouflage into things.
That's pretty cool. Are they dangerous?
I don't know. I haven't read that far yet.
What if it's like the werebear that killed your uncle? What if that's here?
He turns to you and goes like, what if it's a werefish? Blub, blub, you're a scrub.
I don't think it's either of those two things.
I'm actually, you know what? I had a incantation for my fish spell, but it's now going to be blub, blub, you're a scrub. That is my new incantation.
I still need to pick a spell. I got distracted.
Yeah, maybe like, what homework did you forget about that you just remembered in this library right now?
Can I learn? I want to have a spell that lets me kind of like copy the pages of the book so I can like look back at it.
Oh yeah,
later.
Like, and just copying it, like writing and stuff.
Yes, so it's gonna be called cheater or cheating help me pass my test or something like that. It's a name in progress.
Amethyst is trying to create a spell that steals letters and transfers them to another place. Amethyst, where do they go? Another scroll?
It's I want like a copy, a magical copy that is purely mental.
So it's just that it's ripping it off and going into your brain.
Correct. Kind of like I basically want like a photographic memory type ability. Yeah. But not for like, I can't do it for a whole book, but I can do it for like sections. Like little parts.
Oh, I've got another one for this. Hold on a second.
If you need to refer to that information later, can a little piece of paper come out of your mouth and we have to shake it off like a Polaroid picture?
Yeah. That would be hilarious, so yes.
I love it.
Awesome.
But she has to like cough in like secret and like cover her mouth so that the paper is hidden, because it's like the first time she does it in class, she gets caught.
Write them down.
All right, I got it. I got it. The spell's name: Amethyst Cranial Codex.
That's good.
Ooh. Good magic card.
I haven't played Magic in so long.
All right, folks, I probably should go and write that down. I think it sounds like a good time to end the chapter. So as we end the chapter, I would ask you guys, is there anyone who thinks whose name you should mark? So anyone who their role play made your story funner or more interesting?
For this chapter, I want to say, for this specific chapter or
specific
so
chapter.
far?
I mean, Ian's just kind of an ass to Connor, so I guess that merits.
I want to say thus far we're kind of getting into a rhythm of the interactions between this trio of troublemakers here, and I'm thinking just the base level interactions would be enough at this stage. But that's me, and as a player, I'm always going for an edge. So take that as you may.
Oh yeah, remember this is up to your personal thought. So.
I liked the interaction between Amethyst and Ian at the Ridge. But I also liked this. I wasn't involved in this, but I liked when Connor became brave for a second to convince Ian to come save Amethyst.
I like it. Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and use both of those as excuse to tick off my.
And now remember,
symbols.
you can choose one per chapter.
Oh, one. Yeah. Okay. I'm gonna grab the Connor one.
Yay!
Well, I only have a Connor one left.
Oh, that's fine. You and I still interacted, right? Like Amethyst and Ian still interacted. You could nick off mine.
Wait, you guys know each other?
No. Amethyst's character and Ian.
No,
right?
I know. I'm kidding.
Oh, sorry, I missed that.
Well, I already checked off one, didn't I?
For this
So-
chapter?
What happened? We
Yeah,
we
'cause-
retconned it and said that you should all start with one. I thought that was a pretty good idea, and I like that. Going into the game.
Okay.
So you would already have it, and then you use it up, and then it's in the chapter. You get to look at this criteria and say if you think you should check another one.
Mm-hmm.
Gotcha.
I see. Well, I haven't used either of mine as of yet, so I guess I'm just kind of at a stalemate
You
at
would-
the moment here.
Quick, burn them and then add them.
Ah, that's a great idea. No, I'm kidding.
And it's okay. You also don't have to have someone, and you can think about it in the future.
Yeah, I can't think of any of them that I could use
All right,
right now.
sounds good. So, what would happen is we would pass the wand counterclockwise if we were sitting at a table together, Widdershins, and it'd be someone else's turn to choose the next chapter. Now, weeks can pass between chapters, and so you would have this whole school year happening. And whenever the wand is passed to me, the headmaster, I change the seasons. I talk about how it was autumn and we had Halloween, and now it's getting colder and the winter is coming, and so that's how the school year would move around. But because of time, I think now would probably be a good time to call the session for this demo game. Because I want to, ask, because there's a playtest, and I want to get you guys' feedback so we can make this game awesome. Does that sound good to y'all?
Mm-hmm.
Cool.
All right. Well, first of all, thank
Absolutely.
you so much for playing. I really appreciate your time. I hope you had fun. I certainly had fun with you guys as students.
Yeah, it was great.
Oh, it was good times for me. Thank you.
Yeah, I had a lot of fun. Amethyst is fun. Well, guys, that was Magic School Mysteries. Please check it out on Kickstarter right now. They are doing really well, actually. I will have the link in the description down below. You can also find Owen on Plus One Productions, and his information will be down below, too. And this was a lot of fun, guys. Thank you so much for DMing us and joining.
Oh no, this was astounding. This was good times.
I appreciated it.
Absolutely, I had a
You guys are
blast.
great students.
I've never heard that in my life.
I don't think the instructors agree.
I don't know about you. I'm awesome at everything I do.
But yeah, so check us out again in the future, and we will play other TTRPGs, and we will chat later. Bye, guys.
Bye-bye.